Story: Tam and Cam. Once upon a time, there were two stepsisters, Tam and Cam, who shared the same father but had different mothers. After their father passed away, Tam lived with her stepmother, who was also Cam's biological mother. The stepmother was cruel and made Tam do all the household chores while Cam enjoyed a life of leisure. One day, the stepmother instructed both Tam and Cam to go to the pond to catch fish, saying, "Whoever catches more fish will be rewarded." Tam, being diligent and used to hard work, caught more fish, while Cam, being lazy, didn't catch any. On the way back home, Cam tricked Tam. Near another pond, Cam said to Tam, "Dear Tam, your head is dirty, you should bathe in the deep pond before going home, or mother will scold you." Tam believed her sister and entrusted her basket of fish to her while she went to wash her head in the pond. Meanwhile, Cam transferred all the fish from Tam's basket to hers and ran home ahead of her. When Tam came up, her basket was empty. Tam sat down and cried. The fairy appeared and asked. Cam deceived Tam by transferring all the fish from Tam's basket to hers. "Why are you crying?" asked the fairy. Tam told the fairy what happened, and the fairy said, "Stop crying. In your basket, there's still one small fish. Bring it home, put it in the well, feed it with leftover rice every day, and remember to say, 'Little fish, come and eat the golden and silver rice of our house, don't eat the plain rice or flour porridge of others.'" After saying this, the fairy disappeared. Tam followed the fairy's instructions, brought the small fish home, and put it in the well. Every day, she fed it with leftover rice, and the fish grew bigger, becoming familiar with Tam. Seeing Tam bringing rice to the well every day, Cam grew suspicious and followed her secretly. Cam overheard and saw what Tam was doing and reported it to their mother. The next morning, the stepmother sent Tam to herd the buffalo in a distant field, sweetly instructing her. "My child, our village forbids grazing in the fields. Take the buffalo to the distant fields to graze, but don't let it graze in the village fields, or we'll lose the buffalo." Tam obeyed her mother and took the buffalo to graze. Meanwhile, at home, the stepmother called out to Tam's mother as if she were Tam, and when the fish heard her voice, it emerged from the well. Both the stepmother and Cam caught the fish and took it home for meat. When Tam returned in the evening and called the fish, but it didn't come up, she realized something was wrong and cried. The fairy appeared again and asked, "Why are you crying?" Tam explained what happened, and the fairy said, "Your fish has been eaten by someone else. Go home and collect the fish bones, put them in 4 jars, and bury them under the 4 corners of your bed." Tam went home to look for the fish bones, but she couldn't find them. A hen saw her and said, "I'll scratch and peck. Give me some grains, and I'll dig up the bones for you." Tam gave the hen some grains, and it went into the kitchen and dug up the fish bones. Tam collected them and put them in 4 jars, burying them under the 4 corners of her bed. After a while, a festival was held, and the king allowed the people to celebrate. Everyone in the village, young and old, went out to enjoy themselves. The stepmother didn't want Tam to join the festivities, so she mixed some grains with rice and asked Tam to separate them. Tam was sad but did it quickly to have time to attend the festival. While Tam was working, a flock of sparrows flew down. Tam asked him to help her, and they quickly sorted the grains from the rice. But when the task was done, Tam sat down and cried. The fairy appeared and asked, "Why are you crying?" Tam replied, "I'm too ragged to go to the festival." The fairy said, "Go and dig up the 4 jars of fish bones under your bed, and you'll have enough. But you must return home before the rooster crows." Tam obeyed and dug them up. The first jar contained clothes, scarves, and hats. The second jar contained embroidered shoes. The third jar contained 4 small horse figures, which turned into real horses when placed on the ground, and the fourth jar contained a horse carriage. Tam was overjoyed and quickly bathed, changed her clothes, and rode the carriage to the festival. Today, the prince was holding a bride-choosing event. Disguised as a commoner, he mingled with the crowd to observe. He met Tam and was captivated by her beauty and elegance, mistaking her for a high-ranking official's daughter or a wealthy heiress. They talked and immediately felt a connection, but as night fell, Tam remembered the fairy's warning and hastily excused herself to return home. The prince hadn't had a chance to ask for her name and address, so he sent his guards to follow her footsteps. In her hurry, Tam dropped one of her shoes, which the guards retrieved and brought back to the prince. The next day, the king sent a royal official with the shoe to every corner of the kingdom, allowing all the women to try it on. Whoever fit the shoe would become the prince's wife. When the official arrived at Tam's house, the stepmother brought out Cam to try the shoe, but it didn't fit. The official insisted on checking everyone in the house, and when Tam saw the shoe, she recognized it as hers and came forward to try it on. As soon as she put her foot in, the shoe fit perfectly. The soldiers cheered and escorted her back to the palace, much to the envy of the stepmother and Cam. After confirming that the shoe fit perfectly, the prince welcomed Tam into the palace. Illustration. On their father's death anniversary, Tam asked for permission to visit his grave. Seeing Tam returning, the stepmother and Cam, harboring ill intentions, plotted to kill her. The stepmother instructed Tam, "Go up the bridge and pick a mango to offer to your father." Tam obeyed and climbed up the bridge. At the bottom, the stepmother chopped down the tree, causing Tam to fall into the pond and drown. The stepmother gave Tam's clothes to Cam to wear and lied to the king. Tam accidentally fell into the pond and died. Now, Cam, my daughter, will take her place. The prince was unhappy but didn't say anything. When Tam drowned in the pond, she turned into the golden-bellied bird and flew back to the palace. One day, while Cam was washing clothes in the yard, the bird flew down and perched on a branch, singing, "Wash your husband's clothes cleanly. Hang 'em out to dry, but don't hang 'em on the fence." Hearing the bird's song, Cam turned pale. The golden-bellied bird sang happily in the palace, and whenever the prince went somewhere, it followed him. Seeing the bird's affection for him, the prince said, "Golden bird, is my wife hiding in your feathers?" The bird flew to the prince's hand and nestled in his clothes. From that day on, the prince cherished the bird and forgot about Cam. Enraged, Cam asked her mother for advice, and the stepmother urged Cam to catch and eat the bird, then lied to the prince. The bird's feathers were buried in a corner of the garden and turned into 2 peach trees. Whenever the prince went to the garden, the branches and leaves formed a canopy like 2 cages, and every day he rested there. Realizing her wrongdoing, Cam cut down the trees and lied to the king. The trees were turned into ashes and scattered in a distant field. From that spot, 2 peach trees sprouted, with branches and leaves spreading profusely, but only one fruit grew, fragrant and lush. One day, an old woman passing by saw the ripe peach high up and said, "Peach, if I pick you, you'll fall. Let me smell you, but I won't eat you." After saying this, the peach fell into her hands. She took it home and placed it in her room to enjoy the fragrance. Every day, a girl emerged from the peach and transformed into Tam. Tam cleaned the house, cooked meals, and helped the old woman. Whenever the old woman returned, she found the house clean and tidy. One day, she pretended to go to the market but secretly hid at the door to observe. As usual, Tam emerged to work, and the old woman was overjoyed, hugged Tam, and tore open the peach shell. From then on, Tam stayed with the old woman to help her. With Tam's help, the old woman saved enough money to open a roadside stall, which became popular among travelers because of Tam's delicious beetle leaves. One day, the prince passed by the village and saw the stall clean and tidy, so he stopped to drink water and chew beetle leaves. Seeing the beetle leaves decorated with phoenix wings, similar to what his wife used to make, he asked, "Who made these beetle leaves?" The old woman replied, "My daughter made them." "Where is your daughter? I'd like to see her face." The old woman called Tam out. When Tam appeared, the prince recognized his wife. Overjoyed, he asked about the situation and then sent a carriage to escort Tam back to the palace. The king abdicated in favor of the prince, and Tam was crowned queen. As for the stepmother and Cam, due to their cruelty, the king sentenced him to death as a warning to others. However, out of pity for her stepmother and sister, Tam pleaded with the king to spare their lives. Although the king granted her request, he banished the 2 from the palace to live as commoners. As the stepmother and Cam left the palace, a sudden storm erupted, thunder roaring and lightning flashing. Struck by lightning, they perished in the middle of the field. Lesson for children. Life has its consequences. Being cruel to others often leads to undesirable outcomes. People should show love, compassion, and support for each other.